Hey HSPeeps, welcome back to another episode of the HSP Experience. It's March 29th, 2020, and I have some time to get another podcast out, so I thought I would put it together and get it done on this Sunday night. I hope you guys are all well. I think we're all pretty much isolated in lockdown. In California, we're definitely in lockdown mode. I've been getting a lot of emails from people, and I'll get into some of those in a minute. But yeah, wow, a lot has changed since the last time I put a podcast out. Unbelievable. Yeah, we're living through a very historical moment in history right now. I got a lot of emails from people that they just want to see how I was doing. I got a lot of, hey, Steve, I really love you guys. People check on me. They'll be like, hey, you okay? How's it going, man? So I really appreciate it. But then a lot of people were like, hey, what do you think about this coronavirus thing? So I thought I would just kind of put it all together in this podcast and talk about what's going on with me and what's going on with some of the people that have emailed me, and I'll share that with you guys. Yeah, so I'm just glad I can do a podcast. And one of my true crime podcasts that I listened to, they sent out an email today, and it said, due to the unfortunate spread of COVID-19, Parcast has decided to halt recording for the time being. This is a precautionary measure taken to ensure the safety of our hosts and staff. That's the cool thing about doing your own podcast when you're your own producer and content creator. There's no one to fire. It's just you. So we soldier on here at the HSP compound. We don't let a virus stop us. I thought that was funny. I'm like, okay, I guess they're out. They're done. So a little housekeeping before we start. I want to plug my Twitter and my Instagram. A lot of people don't know I have an Instagram. It's both my Twitter and my Instagram are pretty low key. I don't really use them too much, but I have been getting more into nature photography. The Twitter and the Instagram are both at the HSP EXP. They're both the same. Yeah, check it out. If you like nature photography, on my Instagram, sometimes I'll do little videos and things I'm thinking about, but it's not podcast worthy maybe. I'll throw a little video out there or photographs. So yeah, check it out. So one thing I also want to share with you guys is June 1st is World Narcissist Abuse Awareness Day. And that's pretty cool, right? Because, I'm always talking about narcissists on here and how damaging and destructive they are to empaths and HSPs. And it's good to see that people are getting organized to talk about narcissism and kind of fight against it. I think it's great. I have their website up right now. I'll just read a little bit of what they're about. So basically they say, like we already know, unlike physical abuse, narcissistic abuse leaves no physical marks. It's a form of psychological and emotional abuse. It is invisible and difficult to prove, yet its effects are lasting and harmful, which is totally true. We all know that. Yeah, it's like I want to stop talking about narcissism, but every time I do, it's like they keep pulling me back. These narcissists are everywhere. Like it keeps popping up in my life. I got a bunch of emails regarding narcissists this last couple months, and I'll go over some of those. So it just kind of goes with the territory of being a highly sensitive person and an empath. Yeah, narcissists are going to be around. They gravitate towards us. Like, it's crazy. We're magnetically attracted to each other. So yeah, June 1st, World Narcissist Abuse Awareness Day. And you can get, go to the web. I'll have all the links in the description and in the podcast notes. But yeah, there's some stickers you can get, but you can actually go to the website and there's seminars. They're going to have seminars and web events and all this stuff. So yeah, pretty cool. Okay. Then another thing I want to make you guys aware of is I've gotten a lot of emails from people that have religious trauma syndrome. They didn't know what it was called until I talked about it, but they're like, I have it, Steve. I was in a fundamentalist religion, or I was, Catholic or whatever. And it fucked me up, and I totally relate to what you're talking about. So I want to plug some of these resources for the religious trauma syndrome. So one of the books that you should get, and it was written by Dr. Marlene Winell, it's called Leaving the Fold, A Guide for Former Fundamentalists and Others Leaving Their Religion. This book is really good. This is the first book I read when I left my religion, and it really helped me to see that I wasn't alone. I wasn't crazy. I was abused. I was traumatized. And, it's because people think when you leave religion, it's just like, I just walk away. It's like you stop believing in Santa Claus. One thing Dr. Marlene Winell says a lot is she's like, no, it's not like you just stop believing in Santa Claus and you move on with your life. It's like finding out that your parents like weren't your real parents your whole life. Like you were deceived. I mean, it's like that level of deception. So that's a good book. There's also a really good interview by Valerie Tarico and Marlene Winell that I recommend. It's on YouTube and you can watch it, and it's about religious trauma. So go check that out. Valerie Tarico is another one she's written a few books, but just Google those two, get into that scene, and you'll find a lot of recovery resources for recovering from religion. It's one thing to discover that your religion was false and you've been deceived your whole life, but this, like, what do you do after that? Like, what next? How do you proceed forward into reality? And then I got contacted by an HSP who's blogging, super cool guy. His name's Jay, and he has a blog called From Self-Hate to Self-Love, Finding Happiness Through Unlearning Self-Hatred. And he wrote an article he wanted me to share with you guys. It's called I'm an HSP and That's More Than Okay. And so go out there and read it. I'll put a link in the notes, of course, but it's basically his site is From Self-Hate to Self-Love. It's the number 2.wordpress.com. So check that out. And yeah, it's cool. I like to support HSPs that are blogging and making content and getting putting their vibe out there. All right, so I want to go over a couple emails that I got. I got some good ones over the last couple months. And one of them, I can't use his name. I'll just use his initials. It's OH. And he's a software developer like me. And he said, he emailed me and he said, I had a very hard time with my divorce. My ex-wife is a narcissist and separating her was the best thing that happened to me. It's like waking up from a nightmare. Yeah, definitely. That narcissist relationship dynamic is definitely a nightmare. It starts off so good too. The love bombing phase, we all love that, right? Oh, that's like, oh man, you feel like you met your soulmate, and then they're just make your life hell in the end once they start the discard phase. He also says, I relate a lot to what you say regarding your relationship with alcohol. For me, it's very similar, but with cannabis. It's very helpful for dealing with my anxiety, but the hangover, quote, and side effects are not worth it in the long term. Yeah, it seems like every drug has a biological cost, right? There's no free lunch. It sucks. I haven't had a drink in 10 days. I'm kind of tired. During this lockdown, I didn't want to sit around and just drink, because I could do that as an introvert and as someone who can ruminate. I don't plan on drinking for the foreseeable future. I feel like right now, during this time, I need to have my head straight, and I can't be sidetracked by alcohol right now. But I know a lot of people are getting tore up. Yeah, hell yeah. I don't blame you. Yeah, it's cool, have fun. But, one thing I do want to point out, and one of the reasons I'm kind of laying low is, like I said, I just got a new job. I don't think I told you guys yet in the last month. I'm trying to do really good at this job. Also, alcohol really suppresses your immune system. It really, really bad. So do some research on that. Google alcohol and immune system. But I feel like right now I need all the immune juice I can get. You know what I'm saying? This virus. I don't want to get this virus. Because the thing about this virus is weird is that you don't know. 80% of the people, it comes and goes and there's no problem, right? But with my luck, I'll be that 1%er that has to be on the respirator or the ventilator. I don't want to risk it. Just during a crisis, I usually try to stay sober and keep my mind right. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I need to be able to think. So that's my game plan. So I'm staying sober, doing podcasts, playing video games with my kid. That's my move. But I'll get into more in a few minutes of how I'm kind of dealing with it, with this situation. That was cool to hear from him that he ditched his narcissistic wife. I'm always happy when people get away from narcissists. It's hard to get away, though, because they'll hoover you back. We'll talk about that in a little bit, too. The Hoover situation during this lockdown is through the roof. But anyway, I want to share with you Jessica's email. She says, Hi, Steve. I discovered you through your podcast a couple months ago. I can relate to so much of what you speak about. It's eerie. I'm an HSP, an empath, and an INFJ. Yeah, we have a lot of INFJs that listen, which is cool. INFPs and INFJs are so, even though our MBTI stack is completely different under like the surface, how we present to the world, people sometimes can't tell us apart. Yeah, so she says, I also share the misfortune of having been raised in a strict fundamentalist religion. I had no idea religious trauma syndrome was a thing until your podcast. So that's helped me sort some shit out. She says, also, your covert narcissist episode helped me cut 2 narcissists out of my life. So thanks a ton. It's definitely some weight off my shoulders. So right on, Jessica. I'm super happy that I was able to help you learn about religious trauma syndrome and cut narcissists out of your life. That's why I do this podcast, is just to, if I could just help one person with my story, or, helping people get free and see, sometimes we can't see the situation we're in until somebody from the outside kind of throws in some new information, and you're just like, oh, wow, I'm with a narcissist, or, oh man, my religion is completely abusive. So yeah, Jessica, thanks for the email. I appreciate it. I'm glad I was able to help you out, and, people help me out. I learn, and then I just pass it on, right? That's what we do. And hopefully you can help the next person get out of their narcissistic relationship. Well, it's all about awareness, right? So thanks for your email. That was super cool. I got one from Lisa. She says, hi, Steve. I just discovered your podcast. I'm an HSP, INFP, empath, and suffered a lot from codependency issues. I also have had to undo a lot of powerful effects of being in a fundamentalist religion during my formative years. And then even more liberal Christian religion in late 20s. Much has had to change in my mindset. I'm also 47. Actually, I'm 49 now. She listened to my podcast from 2 years ago. I'm getting old, people. She says, your experiences, insights, struggles, and honesty and sense of humor are really helping me to feel less alone. That's cool, Lisa. That's why I do the podcast. I want people to relate to what I'm saying, and I don't want people to feel alone, because I've always felt alone. As a highly sensitive man, an INFP, empath in this world, I've always felt strange, different. And that's why I put this podcast out there, because I wanted to see if anybody else could relate to my life experience, and clearly people can. So I'm glad you're relating, and it's resonating with you. That's super cool. I'm glad you're out of that religion too. Welcome to reality and freedom. Hunter S. Thompson is one of my favorite authors. He says, freedom dies unless it's used. So go use that freedom. Don't waste it. I got a cool one from Catherine. She says, hi, came upon a YouTube of you talking about HSPs and addiction. Thanks for being so vulnerable and candid. I have worked with HSPs over the years and have found so many have struggled with self-worth, shame, and a variety of different addictions. She says out of her own self-preservation as an HSP, she got trained in a variety of healing modalities, and they've helped her and those that she's privileged to work with. So she actually has a place. I'm going to plug it for her. It's called gatekeeperconstellations.com, and I'll bring it up and we'll take a look at it. It seems pretty cool. Let me pull it up here. So it's Gatekeeper Constellations, gifts of sensitivity, empowering the highly sensitive you, heart-centered hypnotherapy. And I don't know, you guys check it out. I'll plug anything on here. I don't make any money, but she seems like a legit HSP. She does works through trauma, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, go to gatekeeperconstellations.com and check it out. Maybe it's something that could work for you. So thanks, Catherine. That was pretty awesome. Okay, so now I want to talk about the results of our demisexual poll. Yeah, remember that? So let me bring up the results of the survey. All right, we had 77 people respond, which is pretty good. I really appreciate everybody that responded. Thank you so much. Obviously, the more people we have, the better our results are going to be, right? Our non-scientific poll. All right, so we had 77 people respond. And of course, the majority were INFPs, and then the second was INFJs. The third was INTJ. And then we just had some other ones. It's interesting. We had an ENFJ, and an ENTJ also. So, okay, yeah, 53% were INFPs. 23% were INFJs. Okay, so for the question, do you consider yourself a highly sensitive person? What do we have here? 98% said yes. 1% said no. I'm like, who's this 1%er that's listening to this podcast that's not HSP? Probably some narc that I pissed off back in the day. No, I'm just kidding. Whoever you are, you're welcome to stay. Hang out with us, HSPs. Okay, do you consider yourself an empath? This is the question 3. 85% said yes, 14% said no, which that makes sense because not everyone's an empath, and that's cool. I find that all empaths tend to be HSPs, but not all HSPs tend to be empaths. And that's cool. That's kind of that fits with what I see in the HSP world. So yeah, a lot of empaths though. Yeah, that's pretty cool. 85%. Okay, so question 4. Do you consider yourself a demisexual? 80% said yes, 19% said no. Yeah, so the majority said, yeah, I'm demisexual, and almost 20% said no. All right, this question was I was really interested in this question 5. Did you grow up in a highly religious family or culture? Because I did, and I know a few people that are demisexual, and they did too. So I was trying to figure out if there was a correlation between being raised in a religious home and if you end up becoming demisexual, because is it a like sexual repression thing? Is it a sexual shame thing? I don't know. And it's interesting. So 51% said yes, they grew up in a highly religious family or culture, and 48% said no. So I don't know. I don't think there is a correlation between religion and whether or not you're demisexual. I really think our demisexuality springs forth out of our high sensitivity. I'll explain my theory on that in a second, but I thought that was interesting. And it's pretty cool. As this survey was going, the non-religious were way ahead for a while. And it's interesting that the religious ended up kind of being ahead a little bit, but that was cool. Thanks for participating in this. There's not a lot of people that are looking at us as a group and trying to figure out our vibe, and so I try to figure it out. I find HSPs and empaths and introverted types pretty cool and fascinating people. And so obviously, okay, now I'm going to go over my theory as to why demisexuals and high sensitivity go together. You see that a lot. That tends to correlate. Not the fact that religion has nothing to do with it, I think. And here's why. So Elaine Aron actually did fMRI studies on the highly sensitive brain. And she learned, and we already know this, but basically highly sensitive people, we are likely to pause to check in novel situations. So when we're confronted with a novel situation, we don't run in. We don't rush in. We stop, we observe, we pause to check. That's a big HSP trait. Now think about how that relates to like a potential one-night stand situation, right? You're in a club or you're in a bar. There's a vibe. Maybe someone's, giving you that "you can take me home" vibe. But what do? I know what I do as a HSP, but really as a demisexual, I pause to check. I'm like, okay, slow your roll, right? Where like my ESTJ friends are like obviously like a narcissist. They're like, yeah, let's go. I don't even know your name. I don't even care. Let's go. Let's back to my place. So another thing she learned about HSPs is we show heightened awareness of and attention to subtle stimuli and appear to be more reactive to both positive and negative stimuli. This combination supports a tendency to process stimuli more elaborately and learn from information gained, which may be useful in the present moment and when applied to future situations. So she says, in contrast, those low in sensory processing sensitivity or non-HSPs, they pay less attention to subtle stimuli, they approach novel situations more quickly, and they're less emotionally reactive. That's one thing, is we pause to check. So I think if you look at a demisexual, we don't rush into sexual relationships because I think at a fundamental level, we pause to check, right? We're pausing to check. Like, I want to get to know you before we have sex or I have a deeper relationship with you. But there's more to this. Obviously, sensory processing sensitivity or HSP is genetic, and one of our traits is depth of processing. And I think this informs our demisexuality in this way. HSPs are wired to pause and reflect before engaging. Therefore, HSPs are always taking in a lot of information around them and thinking deeply about it. This may result in slower decision making and more transition time between tasks. So we actually also are slower decision makers. So that plays into the demisexual thing. We don't rush into relationships typically. Now, I have seen HSP and empath women get love bombed and charmed by narcissists, and they don't pause to check. They're fast in their decision making because they're under the spell of a narcissist. That's the problem with narcissism. They like almost can make you, and borderline personality types, they can make you rush past all your built-in high sensitivity checkpoints, right? How many people just blow past all their intuition and their internal warning and alarm system, and get with these stupid narcissists, right? And waste fucking 15 years of their life. Another trait about highly sensitive people is we are easily overwhelmed. Even pleasant experiences can be stressful, such as transitioning into a new relationship or living situation. We're overwhelmed. Like when somebody's coming on too strong to me, like, if it's a woman's flirting with me really strong, or she's really just coming on strong, where like maybe a narcissist or an ESTJ or someone that is more shallow, they'd be like, yeah, cool. I'm like, whoa, chill, like back off, because I need to process this energy that's coming at me, which is the demisexual thing. And another trait that HSPs have is we struggle with transitions and decisions. So since the HSP brain is wired to inhibit action, there is a struggle with transitions and difficulty making quick decisions. There needs to be time to reflect before taking action. Even positive transitions, such as getting a promotion or starting a new relationship, can be difficult to integrate. So again, basically all demisexuality is a slow burn. It's a slow roll into a relationship. That's all it is. Because what you're doing is it's emotions first, then physical. Where most relationships that are non-HSP, kind of your common 80%er types, they're physical first, and then the deep emotional connection might come later. And one is not better than the other. It's just, I feel like, I know for myself, if I try to dabble in that other scene, it's a different frequency. It's like a different set of, I just know for myself, if I try to live a non-demisexual life, I don't honor who I really am and like live my true self. And I try to not be me and be a one night stand player type dude. Not that I've really done that, but I've sort of dabbled, because for a while I thought that's what you're supposed to do as a guy, because that's what you see. Like 80% of guys are out there gaming women, it's like, yeah, man, let's go to the club, let's get women, let's bring, I don't know. So you think like, well, I guess what I'm supposed to do, but it never felt comfortable to me because I've been a demisexual my whole life. But I think demisexuality is just a manifestation of our genetic trait of high sensitivity because of all these built-in checks we have, and then we're these pause the check and all that. So that's my theory. I think it makes sense, and I don't know, it's kind of cool. Thank you again to everyone who participated in the survey. That was fun. We'll do more surveys. All right, and one last thing before we get into the coronavirus stuff is I do have a book recommendation, and it's Quiet by Susan Cain. And it basically goes into introversion and how it's not really valued as much as it once was. And she talks about the cultural change that came in kind of at the turn of the century. Extroversion started being valued more than introversion, but it goes way into deeper that. But you will feel, as an introvert, you will feel totally understood. It's fascinating. She does a great work. I bet you a lot of people listening to me have already read it. I'm kind of late to the party when it comes to Susan Cain, but I love it. I've been reading it. It's eye-opening. And yeah, so while you're locked down, read Susan Cain's Quiet book. It's really good. It makes you appreciate introversion and more than we already do, and why nature kind of selected for introversion traits and the advantages and things like that. All right, now on to our main topic. Tonight is the coronavirus and my thoughts and your thoughts. I have some emails I want to share that people have sent me, and let's just talk about it. See how we're doing as HSP introverts on lockdown. So I want to start off with some emails that are coronavirus related that I got, and I thought some of them were pretty interesting, and it kind of caused me, and they kind of prompted me to do this podcast. So I got one from James. He says, I really like your podcast. Any thoughts on doing one about the coronavirus? My anxiety is crazy high, but on positive. It's the age of the HSPs, and we're comfortable social distancing, so it might not be that bad for us compared to the super extrovert types. That's true. I'm glad to see that you're staying positive, James, even though you have anxiety in this situation. This is a high anxiety situation for everyone. But yeah, my extroverted friends are losing their minds right now. Oh my God. They cannot stay home. They cannot stop planning shit and doing stuff. Like, they like kind of play around with it. They'll go to the park, but they'll stand around like close together at the park. It's like, you're not social distancing. dummies. As far as HSPs and introverts, man, this is our jam right here. Now, I know some people have some serious situations. Talk about most people. I'll get into my situation in a second, but yeah, James, I totally agree. I feel like being forced to stay home is not the worst thing in the world for introverts. All right, so thanks, James. And I got one from Penny. She says, will you be able to do a podcast concerning the virus? I'm feeling a lot of anxiety from the world and taking it all in. I'd love to hear your advice. Yeah, okay. One tip that I'll tell you guys is don't take too much of it in as far as news and information. I subscribe to the coronavirus subreddit, and I only check it at night. And every night I scroll through that thing, and every headline is like a horror story. It's so scary and negative. You know, I dip in and dip out of the news stream. My advice is don't soak it all in. Like, maybe dip in every 24 hours to kind of see what's going on. But it's all breaking news all the time, and it's always like death, and it's too much. It's too much. So that's definitely one thing I would recommend is definitely dial down the intake to like a slow trickle. This pandemic isn't going anywhere for a while. We all know what's going to happen. The numbers are going to go up, and it's going to spread. That's the pandemic side. That's the virus side. And the economy is just going to keep tanking. But we don't know where the end is. But I'll get into my thoughts on that stuff in a few minutes. So I got a couple of emails of people from other countries and what their situation is like. And I wanted to share those with you. So Jessica in Montreal, she says the hospitals are at max capacity right now. Isolation is super important. She says she spends her time reading, exercising, meditating, gaming, cooking, and baking edibles. Yeah, Jessica knows how to pandemic. Man, send me some of those edibles. Actually, you probably get in trouble sending them across sending edibles across the border. You go down for international drug dealing. That's hilarious. She says she also spends a good chunk of her time trying to keep her friends calm. And she also says she's been out of her religion for 10 years, which is super cool. Congrats on that. Yeah, awesome. Hope your vibe is good up there with your edibles. And then Jenna in Spain, she says they're in major lockdown. Man, you guys got to check out Spain. They're in a situation right now where obviously they have a high death rate, and they're in such a lockdown situation where even if they leave their house, I believe they have to justify it. Like they have to have a piece of paper, and they can't go more than a few miles away from their house. Like they are really locked down. That's not how it is in California. Like we're locked down, but we're not locked down like that. That's like next level. But I understand why they're doing it. They have to stop this spread. But hope you're okay, Jenna in Spain. Yeah, I was looking at some of the headlines in Spain today, and I was like, oh my God, man, they got hit pretty hard. So anyway, those are a couple emails I got from people from other countries. All right, so I just want to share with you guys a little bit what I've been doing and my experience in this situation. So as you know, I live in Northern California. We went into lockdown mode, I think like 2 weeks ago. First, I want to go over the things that I consider to be like negatives or the challenges. First of all, my food supply is kind of dwindling because like when this first broke, remember like the first big weekend where people panicked? There was like the panic buying. It was a couple weeks ago. I actually went to the store. It was like a Saturday. I didn't even want to go. I'm like, oh my God, the herd. But I figure I should go get supplies if like it's going to be the zombie apocalypse. So anyway, I go to the store and I grab a cart. I go into the store. There was just people everywhere. I've never seen so many people in the store. And then there was a line of people had shopping carts full of food. Some people had 2 shopping carts full to the top of the food. And the shopping carts stretched all the way from the cash register to the back of the store. It was weird. Yeah, I could feel like the low level panic. You know how we're empaths, we could feel it, right? You can feel it. And you know how, we're basically animals. We're just domesticated, civilized primates, right? But that animal part is still in us. And if 1 is complete, calm, civilized vibe, and 10 is like the purge, society has completely collapsed. I felt like that day we're like at a 3. I could feel like people were looking at each other, a little leery. The thing that's interesting is, remember 9/11 happened, right? That was something that happened to all of us in a sense, right? It was like it unified us, and it actually made us come together. We were like we were unified. It was interesting. This has a different energy to me. It has a different vibe, where it's getting a little better now. But that first weekend, people were leery of each other. Nobody was talking. Like in these lines, everyone was just trying to get their stuff. I saw this one lady getting she got 6 peanut butters, and people were like looking at her like, really? Yeah, there was like a lot of judging other people's purchases, and it was weird. And I was thinking, you know what? It's interesting how we go into survival mode. So anyway, I started putting stuff in the shopping cart, and I realized, as a highly sensitive person, I was getting way overstimulated. There was too many people. The energy was sort of not friendly. It had a panic vibe. Didn't like it. And I ended up just putting my shopping cart. I just parked it on some aisle and walked out. I'm like, I can't do this. It was just weird. I ended up going to another store, and I got some eggs and milk. It was actually a drugstore. Like CVS and Walgreens, they actually sell food there. So that was pretty cool. I actually got some stuff I needed. But anyway, I went back to that store a week later, and it was way better. They were had a guard at the door. They were only letting certain people in. They had lots of food. I got bread. I got everything I needed, but the paper products were sold out. Like probably all you guys. What is with the buying all the paper products? It's so weird. What the hell? It is so weird to see no paper products. I would just think there's more important. I mean, toilet paper is pretty important, but what about napkins and paper towels? I don't know. You can't wipe your butt with a paper towel. That's rough. I guess you can though. In the pandemic era, people are probably using all kinds of wacky stuff. Yeah, we got problems, people. So anyway, it's just weird to see that group behavior, that herd mentality. That's fascinating from a sociological perspective. But actually, people in my area in California, in Northern California, people are being pretty cool. The supply chains are actually not bad. The paper stuff's still a little iffy, but other than that, it's pretty good. But I feel like there's going to be another panic. I feel like once the pandemic gets to your city will have a panic. It's not really in mine yet, but it's coming. And I feel like once it gets here, we're going to have a panic here. They'll these localized panics wherever the virus busts out next. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to keep my eye on the situation, because I got to go back, because the problem is I bought a bunch of food and I'm using it up. So I got to go back. And I hate going into those stores because they're just sad places. It's weird. When I walk in, everyone's got masks on, and no, people aren't looking at each other. It doesn't really have a camaraderie vibe like it did, like 9/11 did when we were all. It has more of a survival vibe, and there's germs everywhere, and it's just, I hate the energy of the stores now. But I gotta do it. So one of the other things that I'm not loving is I can't go to the gym, and I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you guys what my situation is. I miss going to the gym. I can't lift weights. I miss that. I've been doing push-ups. I've been doing yoga, but I miss weights. So I'm thinking I was going to buy some online, but yeah, my gym's shut down, obviously. So another thing is I got this new job, you guys, a month ago. This job is the best job I ever had. I know I say that with every job, but this one is I work with HSPs. It's a small team of 4 people, nicest people I ever work with. The money's good, and I think I'm going to lose it in a couple of weeks because of this fucking pandemic. We had a meeting last week, and our manager basically said, look, the company's running on emergency funds right now because they're not bringing in any income because of just the nature of what they do. And he said they probably have 4 to 6 weeks. And if this thing doesn't turn around, we're all getting laid off. Let's face it. I don't think this thing's going to be over in 4 to 6 weeks. So, I'm probably going to lose that job. But, I'm not complaining. I'm just sharing my situation with you guys. I'm super grateful and fortunate for my situation here in California. I mean, being in lockdown here is pretty easy. I have a backyard, I have a pool. My hobbies are introvert hobbies. And then my mom, and then one of the other things that's kind of got me worried is my mom is 80 years old and she's an RN and she still works. She's still working. And in fact, she's working, I think, today. So she's all masked up. She's doing the deal. But I mean, if she gets it, let's be real. So she's super being careful, but that's kind of freaky. That's kind of freaking me out. But other than that, it hasn't been too bad for me here in California. I'm super fortunate and grateful. I'm not complaining at all. I'm just, like I said, I'm just sharing my situation with you guys in case you're curious. But everything is actually pretty good. My daughter's out of school. They closed her school down a couple weeks ago. I've been working from home full time. They made everybody obviously work from home. I feel like I'm doing okay, because I hear some really, really crazy stories. Like Jenna in Spain, like she's in super lockdown. A lot of people have lost their businesses, that kind of thing. So this whole thing sucks. But some of the positives that I found in this situation is, like I said, as an introvert, this is not too burdensome yet. All my hobbies are introverted type hobbies. I bike, I hike, I do nature photography. Check out my Instagram for those nature pictures. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm working from home, which is pretty cool. One of the things that I appreciate is this virus doesn't seem to really affect young children, which is good, right? I mean, thank goodness the kids aren't getting it. That's pretty cool. And I think one of the pluses is the quality time that we can spend with our family, and we kind of have to, which is kind of a good thing. Me and my daughter have been spending a lot of time together. I've been taking her running with me. We've been watching movies. We've actually gotten a lot closer. So that's actually been pretty cool. I hope you guys are too. People are forced to get out the board games and play with their family and talk to their family because you really can't go anywhere. So I think some of that is kind of a positive. I also hear the opposite though. Some people are fighting because they're not used to being together all the time. So if you're in that situation, maybe you should get some of Jessica's brownies. And another unintended positive to this whole thing is the environment is so clean right now. The sky is so blue in my area. I've never seen it so blue. I've never seen the air so clean. It seems like the grass is greener than it's ever been. Everything feels like it's supposed to be without all that pollution and haze and all that stuff. So I'm kind of digging it. All right, so that's kind of my situation, and I hope wherever you're at and you're listening to me, yours is good, and you're finding new things to do, new hobbies. You just make the best of it. Just be grateful if your situation is good, because there's a lot of people in horrible situations right now. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that you might have seen, but it just struck me as interesting and from a psychological perspective. And it's the narcissism of celebrities that we see. And I wanted to call out a couple that I saw and just comment on it and see what you guys thought. These celebrities, I'm so sick of these celebrities thinking they're so important and thinking that we really care what they have to say. So I think, I just wanted to point out how ridiculous some of these celebrities have been during this outbreak and this pandemic. Because think about it, they're so narcissistic, but they're home, right? They're stuck. Because normally they go out into the public, they look for the paparazzi to take their pictures. Don't ever think they don't love that shit. They love it, most of them. They want to be photographed. They want the adulation. They want the attention. So now they're at home and they're just, what do? Where's their narcissistic supply? So here's a case in point. Sam Smith, he had this completely contrived meltdown on Instagram. I was like, really, Sam Smith? Come on. So, this is so contrived. He literally takes a picture of himself in 3 different phases of whatever this is, meltdown. So the story is Sam Smith, he's struggling with his self-quarantine amid this coronavirus outbreak. So the singer posted a series of photos captioned "Stages of a Quarantine Meltdown." So the artist, who identifies with the pronouns they and them, has been holed up in their $14 million 5-bedroom home in London. Smith's meltdown comes after they have been bored shitless during the health crisis. Sam Smith says, I'm currently in my house. I've got a bit of a headache and I have allergies, but I think I'm all right. And then he posts this ridiculous photo. I'm just like, who does he think he is that we care? It's like, don't you have anything better to do in your $14 million house? You know, there's like real trauma happening out here in the world. You know, the thing is, if you're gonna melt down, you don't go sit on your porch and set up your camera on the tripod with the box light, and you know, you're like, okay, let's do this. Let's melt down. 3, 2, 1. Let's get it on Instagram. It's like, come on, really? So disappointing. Sam Smith, classic celebrity narcissist. Okay, here's another one from Madonna. Okay, did you guys see Madonna? Okay, so she did this little monologue from her bathtub. It's so like next level narcissistic, right? Okay, so she's in the bathtub. There's like rose petals. She's got the camera set up, monologuing about COVID-19, how it's the great equalizer. And it's like, Madonna, nobody cares what you think. You're not adding anything. You're not adding anything of value to the conversation. It's like, nobody cares what Madonna thinks, except for Madonna. You know, if you look at this photograph, she probably took 2 hours to get ready for this shoot. You know, there's like a boom mic. There's lighting. There's probably, a grip, you know, there's probably 10 people standing behind the camera, you know, helping her have this genuine moment. It's so fake. It's like, come on, Madonna, you're better than this. It's unbelievable. So narcissistic. So the last weird celebrity narcissist thing I want to talk about is this, the celebrities that are going makeup free while social distancing. So it's like, really. And so like Julia Roberts, here she is. The podcasters can't see it, but we have Julia Roberts here with no makeup, which is fine. I think people look fine with or without makeup. I think it's like, who cares? That's the point of this. They're so self-indulgent and self-important. They think we care. She's so brave, Julia Roberts. Wow. And she's actually wearing a shirt that you can buy. It's so transparent. Then we have Jessica Alba. So brave, so brave. No makeup. Gabrielle Union, Amanda Seyfried. Oh my gosh. Sierra, Zoe Kravitz, Julianne Moore. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Like, how about just not wearing makeup? Just, who cares what the purpose is, what the reason is? Like, women don't wear makeup all the time. It's like these people only do it to impress each other, not us, right? The regular people. Like, we're trying to survive. We're trying to shop. These people don't even go out and do their own shopping. They have people do it for them. So they just sit at home and like, what can we do, man? What can we do to inspire the people? Oh, wow, let's not wear makeup. You know, let's be brave. I just thought it was funny. Celebrities are so weird. Narcissism makes people do weird things. If you can, keep those brave women in your thoughts that aren't wearing makeup for the pandemic. Let's hope they make it. You can donate to their cause. Just write the check out to the Church of Perpetual Self-Indulgence, and they'll get that check. They can buy more makeup with it when this thing's over. You know who is not a narcissist, who got the coronavirus and showed us what a real down-to-earth celebrity is like? Is Tom Hanks. He was one of the first ones to get it. He's like, yeah, I got it. I'm staying at home. No worries. He didn't do some weird stunt. He didn't sit in his bathtub and like talk to us about, you know, his feelings. Celebrities confronting the real issues. You know, I think I'm going to do my next podcast in my bathtub. You guys ready for that? I'll do it for likes. It's all about those likes, y'all. But seriously, the true heroes are the people who are out in the pandemic. The doctors, the nurses, the mental health professionals, the cashiers, right? Every time I go to the store, they're there all day, exchanging cash, touching money. You know, the truckers, those are the heroes. The person delivering the mail. Celebrities, man, they're not heroes. They're a joke. They're like, it's funny to watch narcissists implode. They don't know what to do. They're out of their element. So all they have is social media. It's funny to watch them do weird stuff. Now they're so ridiculous. You know, I don't believe in celebrity. I never have. I don't see and accept hierarchies of status and celebrity. I know they exist, but they don't really exist. Celebrity is only something that we as a collective give to these people. Like Julia Roberts is no better than any of us, right? The fact that she doesn't wear makeup is that she thinks it's a big deal, where I know plenty of women that don't wear makeup. It's so stupid. It just shows you how narcissistic and self-indulgent she is. All these Sam Smith and all these celebrities, they're just narcissists whose level of privilege is only exceeded by their constant pursuit of their narcissistic supply. And we are it. We are their supply. All you people that click and like, so you go, girl, you don't wear that makeup. You're just gassing up their narcissistic gas tank. I mean, that's what they crave. They crave that supply. We're out in the real world trying to find toilet paper and food. They don't even, like I said, they have people that shop for them. They're so not like living the experience that we're living. So why do I bring this up? Because these celebrities are doing contrived stunts for attention, and there's real problems that they could be helping. For example, so there's a girl, she's 10 years old, she's homeless, she wants to learn, but she has no internet. Okay? So I'm just read a little excerpt here. This is from the Chicago Tribune. So Aaliyah Phillips was excited about picking up an iPad from her school in Harlem last week. She did not want to miss any classes and hoped to land on the 4th grade honor roll again. On Monday, the first day that New York City public schools began remote learning, the 10-year-old placed her iPad on a tray she had set up over her pillow on a twin bed in a studio that she shares with her mother and grandmother inside a homeless shelter on the Upper West Side. And then Aaliyah saw nothing. I went downstairs and found out they don't have any internet, said Kasha Phillips, her mother. This is the real situation that we're dealing with here. Not wearing makeup, not Sam Smith crying in his $14 million house on his porch with perfect lighting, with his camera on a tripod and his scripted meltdown. This is not what we need right now. So I read another article. I won't bring it up, but it was a single mom who lived in an apartment. I don't know where it was, but her school was closed, right? So she was going to do distance learning. In fact, her school gave her, I think, a Chromebook or something, right, to do homework. The thing is, her apartment doesn't have internet. The thing is, not everybody has internet. These kids in these poor communities, they don't have any way to learn, to get online. They want to go to school. Believe it or not, these kids want to go to school. The reason I'm so hard on these celebrities is instead of sitting on your porch, Sam Smith, or sitting in your tub, Madonna, why don't you get up, go buy these kids some Wi-Fi for their apartment or for their homeless shelter? And why don't you be part of the solution instead of self-indulgently, narcissistically putting up Instagram bullshit for likes? Okay? So that's why I'm making fun of these celebrities, because cry me a river in your $14 million house. You have no problems. Okay? Yeah, why don't you help out these kids? Okay, end of rant. Now, I want to move on to something that I will share with you of how I'm dealing with this psychologically, and because I'm hoping that whoever's listening to me could maybe get some ideas and something that works for them, because I know a lot of people are struggling. They have anxiety. They're future tripping. They're catastrophizing. There's a lot going on, right? This is scary, right? We don't know how this thing's going to end. So let me just give you some of my tips and what's working for me, because I'm not really too anxious or too depressed. And I'll tell you what I'm doing to kind of get to that state. That could change, right? That could definitely change. But right now I'm pretty steady. And so what I'm doing is, like I said earlier, I'm dialing down my news intake by like 99%. I only check the headlines at night and sometimes in the mornings just to kind of see like what's happening, to get a feel of the current situation. And then I go about my day. I don't check it all day. I text my friends, me and a couple of friends, me and Jennifer, my girlfriend. I've talked about it on the last podcast. We're playing words with friends. You just do what you can. You know what I mean? I mean, really, most of us have it pretty good. Like 80% of us just need to stay home and watch Netflix, right? Just stay home. That's the main thing. And just try to figure out how to not be super bored. And the thing is, I also try to keep perspective. Like, for example, this is bad, but this is not as bad as it could be. Just for a comparison, the Spanish flu in 1918 killed 50 million people. It was the deadliest pandemic in modern history. And the thing is, World War I was happening at the same time in 1918, and that killed 20 million people. So in a span of just a few years, 70 million people died between the Spanish flu and World War I. Like, we're not having that. You know, we're having a pandemic, but we have internet for a lot of us, except for those kids that Madonna and Sam Smith are going to buy internet for, I'm sure. But we have streaming video. A lot of us work from home. I mean, it's bad, but it could always be worse. So keep that in mind. Also, a lot of government, there's a stimulus package that's coming out. I'm not a political person, but there is some money coming to a lot of people. They're freezing mortgages, they're freezing evictions and things like that in certain places. So hopefully your situation's good. I'm just hoping for the best, So one of the things I've been doing is I've been really focusing on my hobbies, working. So I'm a software developer. I can work from home on my computer, which is kind of cool. So one of my hobbies is doing that. So I've been working on some side projects. I've also been working super hard at this new job, trying to get paid before it ends, because I'm pretty sure it's going to end. I've been calling on family and friends to check on them. I've been answering the phone when people actually call, because as a HSP introvert type, I let it go to voicemail a lot, but I try to pick up the phone because I'm not sure if the person on the other end of the phone needs to really talk, kind of thing. But the thing is, this is like a war, right? We're all in this together, and it's counterintuitive because the way to fight this war is to not engage. Staying home is the most proactive thing you can do. The only way to kill this enemy is to avoid it. It's like going no contact from narcs, right? We know what that's like. I mean, narcissists are like the virus of humans. Coronavirus is like the same thing, only on a micro level. But you just got to go no contact, and the only way to kill it is to ignore it and to avoid it and to just stay away from it, right? Just like narcissists. All right, so another thing is a couple suggestions that I have is, number one is clean your space. And what I mean is your home, especially if you have an apartment or a smaller place, but even if you have a big place, clean it up. Get the energy right. One thing I've learned is clutter and kind of a mess, it'll wear on you emotionally and wear you down energetically over time. So now's a good time to clean that master bathroom that you haven't cleaned in a couple months, or clean out your garage. Do that cleanup that you've been needing to do, and it'll make your vibe a lot better. You'll have a sense of accomplishment, and just visually and aesthetically, things will look better and it'll feel better. That's a easy win, is just clean up your space, right? Because you're going to be there for a while. We're all going to be in our space for a while. That's a pretty solid tip. Also, just try to get into acceptance and gratitude. And what I mean by that is just try to accept the moment the way it is, right? We can't fight it. Like Eckhart Tolle says, what we resist persists, and we can't fight it. All we can do is just accept it, control what we can control, and have gratitude that our situation is not worse. Yeah, I read a quote by Corrie ten Boom, and she says, "Worrying does not empty tomorrow of its troubles, it empties today of its strength." I totally agree with that. She wrote a book called The Hiding Place. I totally recommend it. So one of the things that has helped me is I try to only focus on the things I can control and not worry about the things I cannot control. And where I get that is from a type of philosophy called Stoicism. And I discovered Stoicism a few years ago. After I left my religion, I kind of had to go find some philosophical frameworks to exist in this world, because mine was gone. I like Stoicism. It just works for my personality, and I think you might be able to benefit from some of the principles. So let me just pull this up really quick. I'm not going to do a deep dive into Stoicism, but I'm just going to hit the top couple highlights. So I'll start with this quote by Epictetus. "The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with choices I actually control." So Stoics acknowledge that people don't have control over all or even much of what happens in life. And they emphasize that worrying about things outside of their control is unproductive or even irrational to a person who wants to attain tranquility. The Stoics would have us remind ourselves daily to actively differentiate between what is and is not under control, to not waste energy over uncontrollable adverse events. So like that's like this virus, right? Like I can't control it. All I can do is control what I do, how I try to survive in this crisis, which means self-care, going shopping, trying to pick the best times to go, washing my hands, self-isolating. I can control those things. The other stuff, I can't control. I might get this virus, and I might be one of the people that end up on a ventilator. I don't know. But I'm not future tripping on that. It's just not worth it, because it's just it's a movie that I'm making in my head that probably won't even come true. And remember, anxiety is just fear of the future. It's really what it is. This helps mitigate anxiety, this philosophical worldview. Where many people worry endlessly about things out of their control, the Stoics think their energy is best spent thinking of creative solutions to problems rather than the issues themselves. Here's a quote from Seneca. No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have, and to cheerfully put to good use what they do have. So that's basically being content with what you have, put it to good use, and don't worry about what you don't have. Yeah, that's basically gratitude. That's just basically gratitude right there. So I'll finally read this last one here, this last bullet point. Stoics consciously try to not suffer over what they lack. Instead, they guide their awareness towards gratitude for what they have. So Stoicism really just comes down to gratitude. You can find a lot of the same ideas in Buddhism. Yeah, it's basically just be in the present moment, accept the present moment, try to make the best of the present moment. Because that's all you have. That's all you can experience. Everything else is a thought. Who knows? Who knows where this thing's going to lead? We could all end up bankrupt and unemployed for a year. Who knows? Or it could go away in 2 weeks. Maybe there'll be a miracle vaccine. I don't know. I'm not going to let the fear of the future ruin today. It's not worth it. Yeah, so anyway, I hope you guys got a little something out of that little brief lesson in Stoicism. You look it up more, but it's a good philosophy. I like it. I get a lot of mileage out of it. All right, so I want to switch now to another topic that Jennifer, my girlfriend who's a therapist, alerted me to, and I wanted to tell you guys because I thought it was kind of interesting. So because she's more, she sees what's happening trend-wise in the psychological scene, right? More than obviously I would. And she was telling me that since this lockdown happened and everyone's self-isolating, the narcissists are starting to hoover like crazy. So I'm just wondering if any of you empaths have noticed an uptick in the hoovering of your ex-narcissists or whatever, because she says she's seeing this trend out there. And the reason is with the social isolation, it's becoming more difficult for narcissists to sustain their energy, emotions, and fragile sense of self. With no contact being forced in some of the cases, narcissists are going to need to reach out to old sources of narcissistic supply in order to get their fix. The current pandemic is forcing individuals to put themselves first, and this is not something a narcissist is used to or comfortable with, right? Because you're trying to survive, right? So your narcissist is like, why are you not paying attention to me? The narcissists are freaking out. Like, this is their worst case scenario. For the overt narcissists, especially, this is like their worst case scenario because they like to move about the land, right? They like to roam around and find new sources of supply and victims. And I think this next thing is a real interesting observation that Jennifer made. She says it's been hard on empaths because they're stuck with narcissists in isolation, and or the narcs aren't getting their typical supply because of the self-distancing. But here's the interesting thing between the overts and the coverts, right? She says the overt ones, they don't give a shit about following the rules. And which is true, right? The overt ones, they're the ones out on spring. They're out. They're not social distancing. They're the ones still going on like Tinder and trying to go on dates and hook up, like meet people. They don't care. They're still going to parties. But she says the covert ones are actually following the rules. So she was saying there's a trend where the coverts are getting restless because they can't be alone with their insecurities and shame, so they're hoovering more. In this situation, a lockdown, the coverts, man, they're working the phones like a fucking Jerry Lewis telethon. So watch out for those hoovers, peeps, because we know how the narcissists, they never really leave. Kind of like a virus. They stick around. I thought that was an interesting observation. Everyone adapts, right? Even narcissists. All right, you guys. Well, I'm about to wrap it up, but before I go, I wanted to check the pandemic map and just I wanted to record the number. Right now, we have a total confirmed of infections at 722,000. Because the next time I do a podcast, I want to check that number and see how high it gets to. Total deaths, 33,000. Man, that's a lot of people. The highest confirmed caseload right now is the U.S., 142,000. Italy's had the most deaths, 10,000. And the only reason I'm reading this is I just want to take a snapshot of where we're at, because as this thing goes, I want to look back and be able to see like where we were on March 29th. But you can see by looking at the map, it's all over Europe, all over Asia, all over America. It's really kicking in America right now. I live in Northern California. Let's look at Sacramento area. Sacramento's 164 confirmed. San Francisco's got 340. It's really, in California, it's not that bad yet, Northern California. LA, they got 2,000 confirmed. So LA is about to blow up. Yeah. And yeah, of course, New York and New York and that whole area is just rocking. So yeah, we're definitely living through a historical time right now. This is insane. But this is going to get worse for sure. We're still in the early stages. What I think is going to happen, just from watching the spread, is it's just going to keep popping up. Like they'll knock it down in New York, it'll pop up in Seattle, it'll pop up in Kansas City or whatever. And there's going to be all these little micro hotspots, and they'll just knock them down and we'll be chasing it around the globe for the next year until they have a vaccine. One question I have is, where are all the supplies? Where's all the medical equipment? This is baffling me. I keep seeing these news reports with different people from the Trump administration and I don't know, just different random politicians on TV, and they're always like, yeah, we're shipping 3 million masks and we're shipping this and we're doing that. And like every time they show the nurses, they're wearing trash bags and stuff. Like there's like a disconnect that somebody's lying here. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I can't believe we can't get masks to people. That is blowing my mind. That is frustrating to watch. I think all those doctors and nurses should get hazard pay. Probably other people too out there working. I mean, we need to take care of these people. They're on the front lines. But all I can do is just implore all of us to just be a good citizen and do our part. I'm actually not worried about the empaths and the HSPs. We play by the rules. We want to help. I know we're like washing our hands. We're staying home. It's usually the narcissists or the extroverts. they have a hard time staying home. I'm on Meetup. I run a Meetup, which is on hold right now, but I see other Meetups in my area. There's one that's a really big one, and it's got a lot of narcissists and extroverts in it, and they're still meeting. They can't help it. They're going out of their minds. But yeah, I just wanted to get this podcast out, tell you guys, I'm still here thinking about you. Thanks for the emails. One of the things that I got to figure out how to do is cut my hair. What do we do for haircuts? Like women, you can just grow your hair out and just color it if you want. I might just shave it. The next time you see me, I might just have a shaved head. I don't know. I don't care. But my barber Will, he's definitely not cutting hair right now. He's hunkered down. So I don't know. Maybe I'll let my kid cut it. I'll let her give me a sweet do. Yeah, she cuts her doll's hair, so she does a pretty good job. So yeah, thanks for listening, you guys. I hope you got something out of this and you can relate. I'm going to try and do a live stream soon just to check in. So watch Twitter and Instagram and the YouTube feeds. I'm going to try not to disappear too long. I have nowhere to go. We all need to stay in touch, right now. So maybe I'll do like a live stream and we'll just look for that. I hope this thing ends soon. So stay safe, you guys. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Stay home. All right, you guys. Much love. Peace out.